What is going on, guys? Jack here, and welcome to ForTheFans, the bi-weekly football and football manager podcast with myself, Jack, and my co-host, Ben. Today we're going to be casting our eyes over the Premier League fixtures for the weekend, looking at the Ballon shortlist, and having a big old natter all about the World Cup qualifying teams. Let's get straight into this. Well, guys, hopefully you haven't missed us. It's been 3 weeks. We don't really have an excuse, do we, Ben?
We do. International football.
Oh yeah, that
isn't Jack's favourite thing, so we just don't do podcasts then.
We just go on strike, and we don't tell anyone, and we don't actually make any attempt to contact each other those weekends.
No, there's kind of a mutual agreement of let's just not talk about anything.
If we don't talk to each other, then we don't have to do it. But it doesn't really work, does it? Because we're here now. But to be fair, the football this weekend wasn't too bad.
There's some good football. Some really good football. There
was some good games. I know a load of people have been kind of saying that this week's Merseyside Derby was the best ever. I'm not sure if I'd quite go that far, but it was definitely a belter. And then a few shocks and a few very, I guess, eyebrow-raising results here, there and everywhere, really, in the Premier League especially. Do you want to kick things off? I'll let you do the honours. You can.
All right. Well,
direct us.
Great. Well, follow me. We'll start at Goodison Park, shall we? Because it was the first game of the weekend. It was the Merseyside Derby. It was 3-3.
It was 3-3.
Thoughts?
I think both teams would be happy with a point. I think both teams could have won the game by 6 or 7 goals, but the keepers were amazing. It was an entertaining game of football from the perspective of, if you like attacking football, if you're a fan of seeing some solid defending, probably wanted to turn off your TV and close your eyes, because it wasn't exactly the pinnacle of defensive performances by either team, but I think 3-3 kind of was a fairly fair reflection after 90 minutes on just how tight the game had been.
I agree. Yeah, I think it became a bit of a Lukaku versus Mignolet show, didn't it? And who won that battle? I think that's I know it was a draw, but I feel like, do you know what? Both might feel they've got the best of the other one when it comes to the end of it.
It was kind of 2-2, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, but the amount of saves that Mignolet made in general, I don't know if he was man of the match or if Lukaku was. I think you could arguably say Mignolet kept Liverpool in it and Lukaku got Everton back in it. So, well, I don't know. I really enjoyed it though. Being a fan of one of those teams, it is not a fun match to watch as you're watching it, but when you watch it back, you think, oh, there were some really good moments in this game. One incident wasn't that great. Kevin Morales, the first talking point of the weekend.
There's a recurring theme, and we'll come on to Slade, but there were some pretty crap decisions across the board, and I don't want to use the whole, if Suarez had done it, because that's just a really annoying argument, and I've heard it all weekend, but I think if anyone else had done it with any other ref watching in any other game, probably would have been a red card.
Yeah, I said this on Twitter. I feel like Suarez almost saves Morales because he makes... I know he's been absolutely knacked in the leg, but he still makes a lot of it.
Yeah.
And I feel like he does himself no favours having a little roll round, getting his arm in the air, waving to the crowd as he's on the floor. Morales is a bit of a twat, but at the same time...
So Suarez, debatably.
Yeah, so I think... I'm not going to lie, I think Suarez's reputation has played a massive part in why Morales doesn't be sent off. I feel like if it happened to someone like Joe Allen, Morales is gone.
Yeah.
Because Joe Allen wouldn't be rolling around on the floor making a lot of it, whereas Suarez is almost trying to get him sent off, and in doing that doesn't get him sent off. It's a weird paradox. But in general, good game. Suarez, did he bag a couple? Well, he definitely bagged one.
He bagged one, Coutinho got one, Sturridge got one off the bench.
Oh, of course. Yeah, the three amigos and Sturridge. Sturridge came on late doors. Did you see Rodgers after the game? He was a bit pissed off with Sturridge and not looking after himself because he went and played for England, obviously.
I didn't see that, but that sounds about right.
It seems a bit weird though that he scores the equaliser for you
and he's still annoyed.
So yeah, it's a bizarre concept. But I think you brought up at the start that both teams will be relatively happy. I think you're probably right. I don't think either would have. Neither team. This is a very weird thing. Neither team particularly looked like losing the game, but neither team looked like winning it. Do you know what I mean by that?
I do, because sometimes you have games it's like, oh, well, neither team's going to win this because there's no goals. But at the same time, I mean, it was so end to end. It was a really fast paced game. It was fun to watch. I say fun to watch. It was fun to watch a match of the day, as you said, as a fan watching it. my mental sanity slowly kind of whittled away from me. But I think 3-3 is a fair reflection on the performance. I think Tim Howard had another good game in goal for Everton as well.
Yeah, but I think a lot of people are talking about the Joe Allen miss as being a key point. But Deulofeu did the same thing. Maybe not as clear cut, but he had a chance to get Everton back in it, and he blew that. So I feel the Joe Allen criticism is a bit much, because at the same time, if Everton score that, you don't think, God, what a goal. You think, poor defending.
Yeah.
So I think some Liverpool players, speaking as a fan, were dreadful. Like some of them, particularly Glenn Johnson, absolutely woeful. Didn't think Gerrard played particularly well, apart from a dead ball. Some weird performances from Scotland Agger. And I think, I'll tell you who did impress me on the pitch. Ross Barkley. Thought he was excellent. Considering he's playing against Gerrard, Lucas and Allen, he ran, for a long part of the game, he ran the show. Yeah.
It was a weird one, wasn't it? Because it felt like both keepers had amazing games, and then both kind of players in the more attacking thirds for either team had fairly solid games. I know you mentioned Deulofeu missed a few chances. He looked kind of dangerous on the ball, but it was a really bizarre game in the sense that, I mean, so many of the goals came from crosses, so many came from set pieces, and I was thinking it was FM with all the near post crosses going in and being headed in by various players. It was certainly not a defensive masterclass, but as you mentioned, it was pretty entertaining. I suppose, speaking of defensive masterclasses or lack of them, we transition quite nicely into Tottenham and their woes.
Yeah. Now, if you follow me on Twitter and you listen to the podcast, you'll know I've been campaigning a little bit for Michael Dawson to get into the England squad. That stops now. Don't forget what I've said. Don't even pretend it hasn't happened. Because his performance at the weekend, although he's playing against the two most informed strikers in the league, arguably even more so than Suarez and Sturridge, it was fucking awful. I can't even be nice about it. Then again, when City play like that, they are ruthless.
They did it against Norwich, didn't they, a few weeks ago? I think they've scored something like 30-odd goals at home this season. It's ridiculous. It's crazy, and as we kind of talked about a little bit off camera before we started, Negredo and Aguero look so good together. I know Negredo, still out this season, he really wasn't being shown at any time. You know, he'd come off the bench, and I was thinking, well, this is Dzeko 2.0.
Yeah.
But he has definitely forged a partnership with Aguero. I know a few weeks ago we were talking about, Sturridge and Suarez, the best partnership in the world. Well, I think Aguero and Negredo have certainly made a very strong case with recent performances. But I think as a whole, I can't work out if it was Man City being amazing or if Tottenham were just crap.
I think it was a mixture of both. I think Torre had a very good game. He set up the goal for Aguero's second, I believe, and that was a lovely move. Him and Fernandinho. Then it was him and Clichy, I think, on the left, or it may have been someone else. And then played it square to Aguero that popped it in. But do you know what my favourite goal of the weekend was, Jack?
What was it? Please say it was the first goal. That was amazing.
The Navas finish for the first goal. People are like, "Oh, what is Lloris doing?" I'm thinking, if anyone else does that, or like, I can't even. Do you know? I'm trying to fathom good words to say about it. What a goal that is! The technique on that, bloody Nora.
It was incredible. I mean, it was a funny one, really, because I almost want to say it wasn't entirely the Tottenham defence's fault that they conceded goals. I just feel like Man City's attack was very good. And Tottenham's midfielders, particularly out wide, and kind of the strikers in the final third were crap. And I mean, if they didn't really have much time when the strikers for Tottenham were taking the pressure off the defence. And I think, Man City, I don't think they had that at like the majority of the ball. I think it was fairly 50-50. But when City had the ball, they pinned them back, and it was just a case of, what are you going to do with the ball when you get it for Tottenham? And I think, I don't know. I mean, Man City have always been amazing when it comes to their movement. You mentioned Yaya Toure. He's such a good player. And then obviously Negredo and Aguero. I think Nasri had a particularly good game.
Yep.
Right, and then Navas as well had a very good game. So I think, I don't know. I don't want to blame, necessarily the Tottenham defence. I just think that there's got to come a time when your attacking players at least absorb some of the pressure. Not even by tracking back, just by having the ball and, I guess, giving Man City something to think about. And for the entire game, I think Man City were fairly comfortable defending when they had to, and then, well, you saw how fast they played with the ball. It was incredible, and
yeah.
I don't know. I don't blame the Tottenham defence. I think a lot of people were, and I think a lot of people say, Villas-Boas out. It's one game. You're playing Man City. They've got a ridiculous scoring record, and I think, going to the Etihad is probably the hardest game at the moment in the Premier League for any team, and I think that was kind of epitomised by the result this weekend.
Yeah, you talk about the striking options that City have got in Negredo and Aguero, and I was just thinking while you were talking about how well Negredo's done as it's adapted in comparison to Dzeko, and you look at players that have come from foreign leagues to the Premier League, and I feel like I've just thought about it, there's suddenly a correlation of the players that get a bit stuck in and try a bit hard. And I think a great example of this is Giroud. Last year, Giroud wasn't prepared to really fight for the ball, and this year he's done it a lot more, in my opinion. He's got a bit more aggressive, and he's a better player for it. Negredo is a great example of it. Comes to the Premier League, he looks like he could destroy any defence at the moment. He's so powerful in his upper body. And then you look over at Spurs, and you see Soldado, and you think, sure, you're not getting the ball enough. And I'm actually defending Soldado. I don't think I've seen a lot of people describe him as a shit signing, which I don't think is true at all. I just don't think if you get a player of his quality the ball in the box, as was mentioned on Match of the Day too, that he's going to be effective. But at the same time, he's got to work a bit harder. He's got to make the two defenders. Who was it at the weekend? It was De Michaelis and it was Lescott for a time. I don't know if he started.
Yeah, I can check quickly, but
he didn't give him enough of a hard time, in my opinion. He's got to really force an issue with those defenders. But you look at Spurs as a whole, they've got a lot of new players, and that can't be forgotten. And a lot of people are writing off people like Eric Lamela. And if you saw any of Eric Lamela last season, you'd know that 30 million wasn't too much because he was fucking brilliant. And the fact he's not adapted to the Premier League yet doesn't mean he will never adapt. He's 12 games in, he's played half of those, he's played a few in Europe. I think you've got to give players like him a lot more time. And you've got to give AVB a lot of time. There's a massive loss losing Bale. You can't understate that. And the reason you can't understate it is because you look at this season and you see that losing Bale has had a massive impact on the way Spurs play. You look at yesterday as a prime example. They had nothing on the left-hand side. They had Lennon occasionally on the right, and they did not look threatening at all, for me, in the whole game. They looked like they could contain City for 10-minute spells, and in other spells they looked like they would lose by over 10 goals. They were that poor running the other way. So,
see, people have been talking about this lack of gelling and whatever, there's a load of new players. You have to consider the fact that in the Man City side, they had a few new players play. Fernandinho's been playing. You've got players like Negredo and Jesus Navas. I'm sorry, those players have adapted so well, and I don't know if it's a case of the Tottenham just have too many new players, whether it's a case of they're playing the wrong system. Perhaps Villas-Boas isn't quite sure how to get the best out of his players, which you'd hope he would at this kind of stage. We've now played a fair few games in the season, a quarter of the way through there or thereabouts. I think, beyond quarter of the way through. We're coming up to the third of the way mark now. And I look at Tottenham, and I don't think they have a play style kind of nailed yet, which is, I guess, utilising the most of their players. You have to look at them now. They're 9th in the league, Tottenham. And I know it's very close at the top, and I know they've sold Bale, but I just can't help but think that something's got to give there. And
I think Pellegrini now knows his best team, and I don't think AVB has got a clue.
Yeah, I think that was the difference, actually. The fact Man City brought in a few new players, and because, as I mentioned, Negredo wasn't starting to begin with. He was coming on off the bench and scoring like like Dzeko, and now he's playing more and more, and he's got this partnership going with Aguero. I think Man City, they've got this system now, and I look at Tottenham, and they don't even change the shape that often, Tottenham.
No.
But what they do is they try different ways of approaching things with the players they've got using a similar shape. And it's not working for them at the end of the day.
No. And is that AVB's fault? Probably.
It's probably... Yeah, it is and it isn't. I think a lot of the players' heads drop by half-time. I think, obviously, it's tough conceding after 15 seconds and going in at 3-0 at half-time. At the Etihad, you're in for a bit of a pasting, but I think a team like Tottenham, particularly after AVB kind of bigged up the fact, my players can turn up and it's going to be a test of mental strength this game, and I think my players have what it takes. I think he might be eating his words slightly on the back of the 6-0 win for Man City, but I don't know, a lot of fans getting on the backs of AVB and co on Twitter. I like the quote that Mourinho said this weekend, which was, it's better to lose one game by 6-0 than lose 6 games 1-0. I think it's one result at the end of the day. There's been other teams go there and get a pasting, be that it was Norwich, but
they'll be feeling better.
Well, yeah, exactly, but I don't know. I think time will tell. I think there's changes got to be made at Tottenham, and I think they'll probably come with time, but I think it could be too little too late in terms of a Champions League push now.
Yeah, well, that's 3 games without a win, and the next match is against Manchester United, a place which I think we should go next. See what I've done there?
I do see what you've done there. Well, we're actually going to Cardiff, strictly speaking, which has been the home of Manchester club's demises over the course of this season so far. 2-2, Cardiff, with another point on the board. They're ticking along nicely. They have a fairly strong squad. What did you make of the game as a whole?
Well, I think United have done well to get a point. Moyes will be happy with that. He'll be going back to Manchester thinking, yeah, good job, well done. I don't know why he's from London. But Manchester United not good enough. Cardiff will be absolutely delighted. Cardiff have got 13 points from their first 12 games. They'll be pretty pleased. And they've got points against City. Did they beat City? They did, didn't they? They beat City, and they've got a point against United. I think they'll be taking that. And they beat Swansea as well. So far, even if they go down, they've had a good season. Let's face it. Whereas United, I don't want to say they look really poor, because at times they look like Manchester United, and then at other times they are the most unaware team in the league, by which I mean they don't know where each other are, they don't know who's defending, they don't know who's man marking, they haven't got a clue. It's weird.
It is bizarre. I mean, I looked at their team, and I know it wasn't exactly a full-strength Man United team, but when you've got the likes of Cleverley and Fellaini in centre mid, I just feel like neither of them work off each other at all. No. I'm sorry, it just, in my perception of it, is that those two players just don't work together. I think Fellaini's good when he's given permission to go forward. I know we kind of agree to disagree on this point of how Fellaini should be played to an extent, but it's like, for me, I like to see Fellaini get further up, and I mean, you look at their options on the bench. I don't know if David Moyes was a little bit complacent, but I look at the bench, there's no centre mids.
No, well, Carrick was out, wasn't he? And I think people that write Carrick off will suddenly be thinking, oh, he makes a difference. And maybe Fellaini will play better when he's next to Carrick. I'm not sure how often that's happened, but Carrick will sit and spray the ball around, which would give Fellaini a bit more licence to go forward, where you think he operates better. So, I
mean, I just look at the United bench. They had 4 wingers on the bench. They had Anderson,
none of which are any good.
Anderson, Giggs, Nani, Young, and then they had Welbeck, Lindegaard, and Butner.
I don't know, Anderson's a central midfielder, but he's not particularly good.
He's more of an attacking. I'd say he plays better off the front than myself. But it's like, I feel like Cardiff, with the players that they played in the shape they played, because they kind of played this 4-1-4-1, I think it played into their favour, because they won this battle in the centre of midfield, which, well, not necessarily won it, but they certainly didn't lose it.
No.
And it kept them in the game. And obviously, the pressure told. Late goal from a set piece. Kim, the centre mid from South Korea, leaping high, peeling off his marker ever to get the goal. I mean, if you're United, you expect to go to a new team coming up like Cardiff and win quite comfortably, really.
Oh, yeah. Batter them. You should be battering them.
So, I think Cardiff defended well, obviously. There was a few incidents in this game. I don't know if you want to touch on them now or come on. I suppose we've got a few incidents to touch upon in other games, but there was the Rooney kick. Should he have been sent off?
He's such a prat, isn't he? He has moments where he is such a little kid. And he should have. I'm not saying that he should definitely be sent off, but he's either. No, I am saying that he should definitely be sent off, because you can't do it. You can't just kick someone in the back of the leg because you're not going to get the ball. It doesn't work. And you saw how. Do you know what? You saw how crazy. Who was it? Was it Retha who stood on Januzaj the other day?
Yeah,
against Fulham, and the United players went absolutely apeshit. And now when Rooney kicks someone, it's all a bit like hush, let's not talk about it. But it's do you know that's as bad as diving for me. And we absolutely berate Ashley Young for being a bit of a knob. So when Rooney kicks someone, that is as bad, if not worse, because he's actually kicked someone.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wonder if he'll get retrospective action. I'm not sure. Like, he was booked, but I don't know what he was actually booked for. Because if he'd been booked with a kick, then that's wrong, because he shouldn't have been booked with a kick.
Well, I'm looking at the like just a little update here. Apparently, Gary Medell's not going to receive any further action for what appeared to be I want to say a punch at Fellaini, but it was more a hand flung in the face. I think it wasn't really a fist, but nothing there. I mean, there's a few very odd decisions in other games. I suppose we can cover them really quickly. But in the Sunderland game against Stoke, probably the worst red card decision I've possibly ever seen for West Brown.
I guess if we have to be a little bit balanced, I guess, but you could argue to say he's not in 100% control, and if the player moves in a different direction, then it's a very bad tackle. But to be on the other side of the coin, and on the coin we are, and the majority of fans are, he doesn't touch the player. He takes the ball completely. So in everyone's eyes, that should be good tackle. Because he's got...
Yeah.
So Poyet went absolutely mental, which is great. I love it when you see a foreign manager go absolutely berserk, because it's just fun.
I feel sorry for them. They've had a lot of red cards on them. I think it's like 3 in their last 2 games since Poyet took over.
They have got Lee Catamol in their team, though, so I've not got that much sympathy.
But it was... I mean, Wes Brown had been out for ages. It was more the fact for me that he gets the ball with it's a strong tackle, and it could be seen as aggressive. I don't think it was malicious at all or over kind of aggressive. But if a player can't go into a slide tackle in this day and age and win the ball that cleanly... I mean, the linesman didn't bring any attention to the foul. Neither did the fourth official. And immediately the ref brings out a red card. It took him 2 or 3 seconds to make that decision. So clearly in his mind, I mean, I don't want to criticise officials and whatever, and you never know what angle he exactly had of it. But from every TV angle I saw, I was shaking my head more and more as to quite how the conclusion was read for that. And then there was I don't want to say it was really similar, but I think if you're sending Wes Brown off for that tackle... There was an incident involving the Stoke keeper in the second half where he came out to meet the ball, I think, ahead of the striker, and he had his foot very high, and he caught Darren Fletcher in the chest with the studs. And yes, he got the ball first, as did Wes Brown, and nothing was given at all.
Do you mean Stephen Fletcher?
Sorry, I said Darren, didn't I?
Did.
Yeah, I mean Stephen Fletcher. The thing that annoyed me as well was the fact that BBC kind of Match of the Day commentator made some comment like, oh, well, he's got the ball first and the ref's got that one right. He's not got it right, though, because if a ref sends off a player like Wes Brown for his tackle, he then has to maintain a standard. He can't go, oh, shit, I got that last one wrong, right. So that one's not a red because that's actually by the letter of the law. If you send a player off, and you're never going to get consistency across different referees for different incidences because no 2 incidents are the same.
Yeah.
But if it's the ref on the exact same match day and you send off a player for a tackle like Wes Brown's, you then have to at least give a free kick or a red card to the keeper for his, even if it isn't actually a red card, because it's just about maintaining a standard and being consistent. And that's what annoyed me the most about that incident. It's just frustrating to see that kind of stupidity in terms of a decision be made.
Yeah, you sound angry.
I'm genuinely quite annoyed about that one, because I want Sunderland to stay up. I think they have players to potentially do it, and I want to see them at least make a go of it, because I think they do have a squad that can make a go of it.
Yeah.
I mean, they're now only 3 points off West Ham, who are 17th. But those kind of decisions, I mean, Stoke got the win, and I think they probably would have got a winner anyway, but it's just a stupid decision.
Well, yeah, the Brown decision is extremely likely to be overturned and rescinded, but it's probably cost them the game, you could argue. So, there's nothing like to say, well, I'm sure Gus Poyet will think that. I'm sure Poyet said we could have potentially won this game if we don't lose a player to a stupid decision. And that, inevitably, that could cost him his job come February, the way Sunderland are going at the moment. So, yeah, not good. I guess we'll talk about one more game in detail, and then the rest of which you can look up on bbc.co.uk/sport, because it's just, you know the results already, we're just talking about them. I think we should go to the home, well, it wasn't the home, they were away, but Tony Pulis' new club. No.
Crystal Palace.
Yeah, if it were me, I'd be playing to not get in his team. But apparently they want to play for him, and they got a win
against Hull.
Yeah,
big result for them.
Well, didn't Palace get a sending off as well, which was a bit weird. Have you seen this? Trying
to think what was the incident. I'm now trying to wrap my brain.
It he comes in from the right hand side, loses control of the ball a bit, and kind of slides.
And he slips.
Yeah,
yes.
and
yeah.
I found it a bit harsh. Again, Palace have had a few really quite harsh sendings off this season for me. But I guess we've not got much more to say on that, other than it probably wasn't a red, and they've done really well to get a win under the belt.
Well, Hull had gone 5 games unbeaten or something at home. Hull have had a fairly solid start to their campaign. I mean, we were talking about Cardiff doing well to get 12 from 11 points-wise, and Hull have got 14 from 12. So
absolutely,
to go there and get a win, I could see Hull maybe slowly slipping and sliding down the table now. I think for Crystal Palace, maybe a bit of momentum going. I still don't think they have the quality to stay up. I'd like to see, me eat my own words, I think there's nothing more exciting than when come the last day of the season there's 3 kind of undecided relegation spots, like I think it was 2004 or 2005 with Norwich, West Brom.
It's funny you say that. I was just about to say, let's see that again. Let's see Southampton go down, have a significant drop, Norwich squeeze down a bit, West Brom, let's see them drop. Let's recreate that final day when West Brom survived. But potentially not have West Brom survive this time. Let's make it different.
But no, it was an interesting one, and as you mentioned, it's just a bit exciting, and you want to see the Premier League be close, and it is actually fairly close now, because there was a time when Sunderland and Crystal Palace were some way off the pace, and both of them have got a few points here and there. 3 points off the pack now. I don't know. It's an exciting time in the Premier League, because usually there's one team really off the pace, but at the moment there's still a few teams in with contention. But I think a great result there for Crystal Palace. Fairly late goal, and I think that's their first away win of the season as well. So maybe, just maybe, they can get a little bit of momentum going. And Tony Pulis, I think, is a smart decision, because I think he knows how to get the best out of his players and the most out of his players. As he kind of showed at Stoke during his time there. Yeah,
it won't be pretty, but it might work.
Exactly.
I think that's the bottom line. I think we can leave that there. So that sums up Tony Pulis. He's not pretty, but it might work. Where do you want to go now? We've talked about the Premier League. The other results, do you want to run through them? Just say what they were, in case people don't know.
Oh, do you want to say them in the kind of sports reader score,
Oh, if you like.
Everton 3, Liverpool 3.
Well,
I'll let you have free roam of it, or you can just say them really quickly.
Okay, West Brom and Villa drew. Arsenal beat Southampton 2-0. Oh! Yeah, they did. Arthur Boric tried to be Johan Cruyff, didn't work. We won't talk anymore about that. We've all seen it. We all laughed.
It was funny.
Fulham 1, Swansea 2. Good win for Swansea. Fulham are dreadful. Newcastle beat Norwich 2-1. Newcastle scored a header, but Newcastle were always going to win that, really. West Ham 0, Chelsea 3. Good away win for Chelsea. Mourinho will be pleased to beat a London rival, I'm sure. Although Big Sam will have been loving it anyway. Gets to meet Jose for the afternoon. And that sums up the results for this week's Premier League. We did get a request to talk about Championship football and lower. I'm going to reiterate, as only one person kind of said, yeah, talk about it. If you want to hear us talk about it, please let us know in the comments section below with your brand new Google Plus account, which I'm sure you're
or if you've got any league, be it the Serbian Third Division North.
Yeah, sure.
And it gets enough thumbs up, we will do a serious conversation about whatever leagues you want.
A
highest thumbs up one.
Just one single serious conversation. All right, well,
we'll find it online. The leagues are everywhere, aren't they? There probably is a Serbian Division North that people will now thumbs up, and we have to do our research on it.
That's all right. I enjoy a challenge. So let's do it.
Talking a little bit about European football, Ballon d'Or, boom.
All right, I'm in. Who do you think should win, Jack?
I don't really know. I'd like to see. I'm looking at the odds now because I've got them up. And I'd like to see Pirlo win it, because I like Pirlo, and I think it's his last chance to win it. And I think when you consider what he's actually done on the national stage for Italy this year, and then obviously Juve being pretty much carried by his creative flair, I think he's currently odds-on 7th favourite to win. So I don't think it's going to happen.
I would like to have seen him win it last year, when Juventus won the league and he got to a final of the Euros. But, I think...
Who's your punt?
What, this year?
Yeah.
Well, I think everyone's going to say Ronaldo, but I'm going to come off on a different point, and I'm not going to go straight to Messi. I'm going to say, why has this now become the opinion? And I can see that it's very impressive, but it irritates me that players like Philipp Lahm aren't in the running. Won everything you could win with Bayern Munich last season, has had a good year with Germany as they've qualified for the World Cup, and he's not even close to being considered. And is that because he's not scored 50 goals? So are we now saying as a footballing community that if you're a defender or potentially even a midfielder, you can no longer win the Ballon d'Or because you've got to have scored more goals than Messi and Ronaldo.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the other thing is there was Thomas Muller who's up there in contention, be it somewhere off the pace, and Neuer's even on kind of the short list of most bookies. So there are a few kind of defensive players there, particularly for Munich, and I do kind of feel a bit... I almost want to see one of them win it, but I just think the way it goes, it becomes kind of the Ronaldo, Ribéry, Messi and Ibra show most of the time. And
so who do you think will win it then? Who do you think will win it? Not who do you want to win it, who do you think will win it?
Ronaldo.
Do you think it's going to be Ronaldo's year?
I do, and I don't want it to be, and I hope I'm wrong, and I hope that the mighty, I don't know, Cavani can win it, because apparently he's 200 to 1 on to win. But no, I think realistically Ronaldo's the favourite. I think he's had a good year. I think Real, they didn't have the best season last season, but I think he has continued to average more than a goal a game for them, so you really can't argue against it.
No, I think if Messi wins it, he'll retire. What's he doing?
We can hope. What's the
point? If Messi wins, then I just go, well, I'm bored. I'm going to coach now, just like under 12s, because I'm sick of this. I've scored 64 goals this season, and I'm still not getting the Ballon d'Or. But I said to you before, I want to know what the ForTheFans listeners and who they think is going to win it. So I'm going to set up a poll on our website. If you look in the description of this video, below the video, if you don't know, or if you listen to it on iTunes, come over to the video and do the poll. Who do you think will win the Ballon d'Or? I think shall we give 4 options? The 4 front runners? Or do you want to give 4
so.
And then other?
I think other, and then they can enter it maybe. Or we could do 2 polls. We could do who do you think's going to win and who do you want to win?
Yes. Good boy, Jack. Sorry for sounding so patronising. Yes, that's what we'll do. We'll do who we think will win it, and we're not going to give. No, I don't think we should. We'll just do other. We won't let people type it in because then Heskey will win, and we don't want that. So we will. That's guaranteed to happen, and I don't want it to happen. Right? Can I make this perfectly clear now, everyone listening? Other does not mean Heskey. So don't be putting other in because you want him to win it. He's done nothing this season.
If you want Heskey, just tweet it at Ben.
Yeah, do that at Dr. Benji. That's DOCTORBENJY.
I feel like you're doing when on charity kind of events when they read out the phone number at the bottom of the screen. That was you then.
Well, believe me, Jack, some people have described me as a charity in the past, and that won't be the last time. So let's carry on. I think you're right. I think Ronaldo will probably win it. Probably deserves to win it. That's the first time I've admitted that, because I still think Messi's a better player. I just don't think he's had as good a year. The calendar year, that is. Because obviously Messi actually won things this year. Go on.
I was just going to say Ronaldo single-handedly has pretty much launched and propelled Portugal into the World Cup ahead of Sweden. So it was kind of the battle of Ibra and Ronaldo last week. Ronaldo won, and I'm looking at this World Cup qualification stuff now. I haven't followed the qualification too carefully, and I'm looking at the list because that's what we're coming on to next. How the fuck have Bosnia and Herzegovina qualified for the World Cup?
What do you mean? You know who's in their team, right?
Yeah, like Dzeko and a few other players.
They've got like Payak, I think it's called.
Yeah, but even so, like compared to the teams who have been knocked out,
Dzeko would start
and
for
haven't
England.
Qualified. Oh yeah, I'm not denying that, but it's just I'm looking through the teams like, yeah, I can see them being there. Yeah, they've done okay in the past. Then it's like Bosnia and Herzegovina.
I'm pleased they're in it. I think it makes it good. I wanted to see Iceland in it. I wanted to see Burkina Faso in it. I'm kind of gutted that there's more kind of known teams. It's a very strong World Cup this year. There's not a lot of cannon fodder. Like Saudi Arabia didn't make it this year. But there's there's a lot of no North Korea. Do you remember them last time? That was fun.
Yeah. How the fuck did they do that?
Well, I think we probably know, but we can't say for legal reasons.
Every team that went to play there never came back.
It was always an automatic 3-0 wins. The other team just didn't turn up for some reason, mysteriously.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at, if we go through the continents, I'm looking at the teams who have qualified from Africa. I'd say they're probably the 5 strongest African teams. Algeria, Ivory Coast, Nigeria, Cameroon and Ghana. I don't think you could argue with that. I guess
you could maybe have Egypt over Algeria, but apart from that, you're probably right, yeah. I think the other ones are there.
But even then, like, Algeria kind of have players like Bafouza, who's the guy who's played in Russia on the wing. They've got a few players, Algeria, like, scattered here, there and everywhere. They're certainly not a team of superstars, but I'd probably put them on par with Egypt.
I wouldn't, but we can fight about that later because we've got to talk about more teams that qualified. So from the South, well, do you know what we'll do? We'll go through each continent, and you tell me which you think is the strongest team in that continent. So in South America, we've got Argentina, we've got Brazil, Chile, Mexico don't count, do they? Uruguay and Ecuador, and Colombia with Falcao, obviously. So who are you back in there?
I think you've got to back Brazil, home World Cup.
Over Argentina?
I think the only thing that could be perhaps a detriment to Brazil is the fact that they've not had to play through the qualifying stages, which I know they've played in like the Confederations Cup and they've played a lot of friendlies, but I think that lack of competitive football might be a problem for them. Although, that said, it really shouldn't be a problem if you're a world-class player, should it? To get yourself hyped up for a World Cup.
Yeah.
I mean, out of the other teams, I have been talking about this, and I do think Chile could cause an upset or two.
Oh, just because they beat England?
No. I was saying this beforehand, may I add. I just think the system that they've got playing... You look at the teams they beat in the last kind of few years. I believe they beat Argentina, they beat Brazil... They've beaten some teams in the last few years, and they've kept the core of their team largely the same. I think it's been very kind of understated, their kind of push for the World Cup, and I think a lot of teams are overlooking them, and I think suddenly everyone's kind of opened their eyes and gone, well, crap, they just beat England.
That's not a statement of intent.
No.
While I agree that Chile are probably stronger than people realise, and maybe more people realise it now that they've beaten England, just because that's how English media and fans work. But I can't see them beating a team like Spain or Brazil or Argentina at like a tournament. Germany, I can't see it happening. Even someone like France, I could see beating Chile.
See, the World Cup has always been funny though. Like, you just have to look at like the 2000. I know I'm going back a little bit here, but the 2002 World Cup where Japan made it to the semi-final. Was it Japan made it to the semi-final? South Korea, one of the two made it.
South Korea did, yeah.
Weird stuff happens at World Cups, and it can happen. So I think say, I can't see it happening at a big competition, because I think it could be said a lot. I just think the Chile national team they've beaten a lot of big teams in South America. They've not, necessarily played giants like Spain, because, of course, they've not had friendlies against them. But they drew with Spain. Well, actually, no, they did draw with Spain in September. I'm just checking it now. So they have got results against the big teams. So I think you've got to watch out.
Also, actually, on Chile's defence, now I've changed my tune a bit. But when Chile beat them, they were also missing Artur Vidal. I know. Think about that. Terrifying. So, Chile got a chance. Right, we'll move on. Different continent. We'll go to Africa. Who do you think is the African favourite? And who do you think's going to come out on top in their continent?
I'll go with Cameroon, I think. They've got a lot of players playing in Ligue 1 in France. They've got a few players, playing here, there and everywhere. I think they've got a fairly competitive squad. Yep. I think they'll finish kind of top 16. They'll make it to the knockout stages.
Yeah. Depending
on the group draw, of course, because that's not been made yet.
I think if I'm going to pick an African team, I'd probably go Ivory Coast. You look at the Tourés. I guess Drogba will play as well. I'm under the assumption he'll be there. So, I don't know. I fancied them to beat Cameroon. You can't overlook Ghana or Nigeria either. Shola Amiobi scored for Nigeria during the international. So fucking watch out, I guess is the bottom line there. Out of the teams that aren't from Europe, so I'm going to go. Actually, we've not even looked at Asia yet. Okay, so Japan,
Asia, and Australia.
All right, so Australia, Japan, Korea Republic. Do you know what, we missed out Honduras in the last one, but I don't think you're backing them. Iran.
No.
We also missed out Costa Rica. We've had a right nightmare, but I don't think you're backing them either. This has become dreadful.
We've not done North America yet.
Jack, pick. Who do you think is going to win the World Cup?
Can I go for a poo?
What, is that a legit inquiry?
Yeah, I'm going. Be right back.
Right, okay.
We'll re-go from Africa and we'll keep it snappy.
Can I just say, Jack, you can be damn sure this isn't getting cut out. You go, I'll just talk to the listeners. People think that I don't edit properly, but in actual fact, I do leave stuff in, which Jack does, which is a bit weird. Like this, for example, as we can hear him shuffle off to go to the toilet. But yeah, do you know what? While he's not here, I'll do a few little intermission things. This is available on iTunes. Feel free to go and download it. We probably should have said that at the start, but you can get it on iTunes. I don't know if you can search for it on iTunes, but there is a link in the description of the video along with the polls that I spoke about earlier. that you can click, and it'll take you to a podbean.com website, and then from there you can subscribe to iTunes, and it'll open up the application for that. You know how it works. You may have done it already. I will just say, Jack's not going to hear this until he uploads it, and he probably doesn't listen to these back anyway, because he can't be bothered with this channel anymore, can he? He cannot be asked. This is great, because he won't hear this until it's on YouTube. Thanks for listening. I appreciate it. I think Jack appreciates it as well. The last one that we did really well. So if you're enjoying these, great. Remember, you can follow Jack and me on Twitter. Mainly me. Don't worry about Jack. I've already given you the details, Dr. Benji. So don't ask about that username. It's just what I chose. But yeah, I'm now going to cut this from here and wait for Jack to return from his poo. Not a sentence I ever thought I'd be saying during broadcasting. But there you go.
So FM Handheld was released. Sorry. Right, Ben, I suppose we should get on to some FM news. FM Handheld was released. I don't know if you've got it. I don't know if you've played it. I have.
Have you?
For about 2 minutes.
Okay.
And then I remembered why I don't play FM Handheld.
Oh, well, I'm sure.
But I did pay for it. I'm supporting the cause.
You should have given it away.
I'm going to open it up now and have a look at it.
Alright, well, you talk about it as we play. I've never played it. I've never bought it.
Have you never played any FM Handheld?
I've not, no, because I've not had a device capable. Until this year, where I now do have an iPad, so potentially I could get it. Is it cheap?
It's like £6. It's not massively, but it just lacks the depth of the main game. As someone who plays the main game religiously, it just frustrates me, the lack of it. And it's a little bit clunky, obviously. Still the first version. I mean, it's pretty much the same as last year. There is one big point, though, that kind of... I think it could make an appearance maybe one day in the actual FM.
Oh.
And it's the make your own club option. What's it called? It's called My Club, and it's basically a game mode where you replace an existing club in a league and you inherit all their finances and players, but you can just choose to release them all. And basically, it's a bit... I want to say it's a bit like... I don't know if you ever played LMA Manager.
I did.
Like on the old consoles.
I didn't know.
But there was like that fantasy mode where you could make a team and like you got given a budget to make a team. It's almost like that. I'm just going through it now. So you set up a new game, you select the league you want to play in,
right,
and then you select the league you want to replace. You basically inherit their squad, as I mentioned, and their finances, and then you can change the stadium capacity, change the team name to whatever you want, change the kit colours. You can also make your own players to replace the existing ones and give them like a potential ability and current ability based off their star rating, and basically play through as them. So it's kind of a make your own team mode without having to use the editor in order to accomplish it, which is kind of nice. And you know, it adds something that the current game doesn't have. And I think, whilst I don't think it warrants a purchase in itself, it's certainly a nice addition, which I think a variant of would be suitable and could really work nicely in the full FM.
Yeah, I'd be interested to know. I keep wanting audience participation, and I'm very sorry if you don't want to take part, but if you do play FM Handheld, or you've played it in the past, maybe last year, let us know what you like about it, because I'm genuinely interested to know what people think of it, and I don't want some sort of Daily Mail review on it. I want to know what people that actually play it think of it. So, like I say, if you do play it, do leave a comment and let us know what you make of FM Handheld. I think, as you say, £6. I think that's pretty good. Like that's what?
It's pretty reasonable, isn't it? I mean, there's a few.
It's a lot cheaper than the full game, but as you say,
there's a lot of microtransactions and stuff you can do. Which, I mean, it's become like this kind of norm now in the video game industry to use microtransactions to make a little bit more money, and it is very little things that they do. But they're there if you want to get them. I think that's more for challenge mode and stuff. In fact, I could check it now, but I'm not going to. But it's fun if you're the kind of person who's on the go, doesn't have a laptop, and so you maybe get a craving for FM while you sat around. It can be fun to play, but if you're someone who really enjoys the full game and you're not particularly a fan of classic, it probably isn't your thing.
Yeah, I think it'll be pretty split. I think there'll be a lot of people that haven't got the time to play through save after year on the full game of Football Manager, and maybe this really does accommodate to them if they've got an iPhone or an Apple device.
I think it's on Android
as well. Is it on Android as well? My word.
I might be wrong, but I think it is. So someone can confirm.
Can we talk about what you discussed with me earlier to do with if you've got a...
It's a sad day. I feel like there's some sad...
Oh, not that.
Oh.
About if you've got a game that you shouldn't have because you didn't purchase it correctly.
Oh, I know what you're on about. Sorry about this, guys. This is what happens when we don't plan properly. But a few weeks ago, I started getting very odd messages on one of my videos, and it's a video for the real name fix, which for those of you who have used it, you'll know it basically patches in the real name competitions because FM doesn't have them licensed. And I started getting some comments about, oh, this isn't making my players' names real. And, oh, my players all have fake names and this hasn't fixed it, you suck, kind of comments. So I was like, oh, this is a bit confusing. So I went in on Google and I typed in FM players not having real names. And I got linked to a torrent for the game, which I'm not going to say what site it was on, but there was a torrent for the game. And basically, in FM, in any game, I should say, you can't make a game crack-proof. You can try, SimCity did it with their DRM, where you have to be online to play the game. That got cracked through after a few months. I know FM 2013, the crack didn't emerge until March, and you shouldn't be downloading these games illegally. Just point that out there. But this year, they took a slightly different stance, SI. They thought, we can't stop people cracking the game, and we can just make it harder for them. So rather than invest our efforts in making it harder, let's make it so that when someone runs a cracked version of the game, players are given fake names across the board. If you've ever ticked the fake name box in FM when you launch a game, you'll know what it is. But essentially, people who play the game, none of the players have their proper names now. Like, they have regen given names almost. So you'll have, when you're looking through players, they will have fake names. The only time they don't have fake names is if you click on their actual profile to view them. So unless you want to nickname every player in the league, you're going to have a fun time. And what this does is it kind of makes it so that people can crack the game, but they're not going to enjoy it. But what they'll do is they'll get a feel for the actual game themselves. So if they do enjoy it, they can buy it. So it's kind of a smart move. I don't know what you think of it, Ben, but this kind of idea that, obviously, it's like a demo, but it's not a demo, of course it's not, but the game can't be made crack-proof, so rather than go, well, we'll try and set it up to be kind of anti-crack as best as possible, we'll just give everyone fake names.
I'll tell you what it is, Jack. It's bloody funny. That's what it is. Because you think you've got the full game, and then Cristiano Ronaldo is called Derek Bottomsworth, and it doesn't work. So, and he can't be the best player. You can't have the best player in the world called Derek Bottomsworth, can you, Jack?
You can't.
So that wouldn't happen. You wouldn't get Bottomsworth on the back of your shirt. So SI, you've done well there. I think that's really funny. I think the fact that they've not got real names. I like to think like Lionel Messi's called Jeremy Sticky or something like that. Something relevant to his name, but not his real name. So the moral of the story is buy the fucking game because it's better when you've got real names.
Whoever came up with that's a genius.
I agree.
I applaud them. Whoever was that who realised, we can just make a game that they can play and get an idea of the gameplay, but they're not going to actually enjoy playing it at all. Genius. And it also means that I can call out the people who comment on this video of mine for the competition name fix, saying, oh, it's not fixed my players' names.
Yeah.
Like, you can go on forums and you'll see it everywhere. People complaining, so it's kind of funny.
I think with that funny story, and is there one more thing you want to say, and then we'll wrap?
It's a sad day. I feel like we need some somber music to kick in right now as I break this news. So for those of you who don't know, a few days ago, some sad news. Why are you doing the Harry Potter theme tune?
It's not. Fuck it, is it fuck? Carry on.
It sounded a bit like... I can't take this seriously. Basically, FIFA Manager, the series, is being discontinued after this year's version. It's a sad day for everyone involved. The game series that's been running for about the last 13 years has shut its doors yesterday and will no longer be in production for 2015, meaning that FM no longer has a competitor. A real competitor, I should say. Not that FIFA Manager isn't a real competitor, which it wasn't really, but... Is this going to be a good or bad thing for the game? Because I'm a little bit worried now. I know Miles is a very driven person, but without anyone really competing, can SI just afford to throw out the same crap every year? They could. I don't think they will do that. But it does raise perhaps some questions about, is lack of competition in the market a negative or a positive thing in this instance? So if you've ever played FIFA Manager, let us know what you made of it. Let us know if you think this is going to be a positive or negative thing. And yeah, I think that wraps up the Cat Pod. Okay, guys, so that does wrap up today's episode. Ben, have you got any final words?
Do you want me to just say bye?
That you've just done.
No, I haven't.
Guys,
I haven't.
Thank you for watching. It is me, Jack.
It's been on them out.
God damn it.
Yes.
God damn it. I
Can't take that away from me. You know better than that.
Thank you for watching, guys. Hit the like button. If you've watched to this point and you want to listen to the podcast again, don't replay the video. Subscribe. Go and watch it and listen to it on your iPod. And, yeah, that's everything, guys. We'll talk to you in a bit. It's me, Jack. And we're out, guys.
Sculpture of a goal, Pablo. It's perfection. Pablo, I think you'd be having to call for an oxygen tank for me, my friend.